How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Endangered Species. This is from 2002, and it does have the alternate title of Earth Alien. Granted, Endangered Species will pull up a bunch of results you don't want. When trying to search for this movie, you're either going to have to type in Endangered Species 2002 movie, or use Earth Alien, whichever you prefer. Anyway, this is directed by Kevin S. Tenney, and stars Eric Roberts, Arnold Vosloo, and John Rhys Davies. And overall, I'm a big fan of Kevin S. Tenney. Night of the Demons is one of my favorite horror movies. It's big, cheesy fun. It's a Halloween movie. I really love Night of the Demons, so I did check out a lot of his other work, and he does have some fun horror B-sides. Nothing as good as Night of the Demons, but he has some fun stuff like Witchboard and Witch Trap and Pinocchio's Revenge. But there is a bunch of kind of forgettable stuff in there, and that is kind of closer to where this one lies. Easiest way to explain it, it is a very cheap action movie. It feels like something that was made for cable TV. It's competently made enough, although at times it does heavily knock off things like Terminator or Predator. There's a whole sequence towards the end that I'm like, that is from Terminator. But it does kind of enjoy itself and have some moments that, you know, you can tell the filmmakers were having fun, and there is some cheesy stuff here. So it's not terrible, but it does have that cheap feel, and it really isn't anything super special. In regards to the flaws, you know how I said TV feel? We get a bunch of characters talking with expository dialogue, and it gets to be a little heavy, a little, explaining the plot to the audience, and a lot of the dialogue scenes are shot very, very standard. We also get the theming of the movie being pretty on the nose. Endangered species, we're going to be comparing humans and animals, and it's always a case of whenever they do the metaphors, I'm like, I get it. I get it. We can stop explaining it now. I understand. And then I felt a lot of the alien stuff was kind of stupid, The aliens will have, bad CGI or, disappearing behind a wall. Whoa! It's a lot of goofy, silly stuff. A gun that explodes everything and ones that's like a little guided missile, And I don't know, the alien stuff I always felt was just a little silly, And also, cheap TV, it does have a bunch of cheap sets in this movie. You can tell a cheap set because it's too square, too big, and too empty. So yeah, it does feel like a cheap cable movie. But like I said, not all is lost. The actors in here do a pretty good job bouncing off of each other. They're not the biggest, best characters ever, but you can tell that they have a good amount of good-natured ribbing and some fun jokes, Like the police chief, for whatever reason, has a bunch of plants in his office, and then they leave and Eric Roberts goes, "Wow, it's like a jungle in there." Not a good joke, but the levity is there. But the biggest thing with this, and the biggest reason why a lot of people might like it, is it does have bits that I can describe as if a teenager was trying to make a movie he thought was awesome. Like, when an action sequence starts going, explosions, cars peeling out, a whole bunch of stunts, and there's also a fair bit of nudity in this movie. And you can tell that the movie was trying to be big, trying to be over the top, trying to be extreme. The thing is, like Night of the Demons, it had its fun, crazy, over-the-top elements firmly pressed and baked throughout the movie. It was just constantly this atmosphere. When Endangered Species does something big and fun and over the top, it always feels like just a little chunk that's not integrated into the the wholeness of the movie, and we're still going to cut back to scenes of police officers explaining this plot to each other. And I do wish that it was just cheesier through and through. I wish it was more pressed in, more smushed throughout the whole plot. If it was, it could have been almost like a, supernatural procedural spoof. And it's almost there. But the fact is that it does run out of budget and run out of steam and revert to being a low-budget cable movie, which isn't great, and at times it does really drag. So when it's firing, it's firing. It does have chunks of life in it, just, it is cheap and it does feel that way sometimes, but okay enough. And if you guys like things, I said it borrows heavily from the Terminator. There was, back in the 80s, a whole bunch of, Alien, Predator, Terminator knockoffs, and this feels like one that they just happened to make in 2002. Not great, but fun enough, Anyway, let's talk a bit about the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I want to say my piece on a few of the plots, and, make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the movie's about. I want to do some analysis. I'll try to not spoil the whole thing, but let's dig a little deeper. Anyway, we open up, we find out on the news that there's a killer that's kidnapping people from, health clubs late at night. Later on in the movie, they'll call him the Health Nut, and I think that's a fun, cheesy name for your serial killer. I wish you had introduced it earlier in the movie and it didn't just come out of nowhere later on. But whatever, he wants to snatch up healthy people. And he's been grabbing a few, but we then cut to this gym late at night. And our two point of view characters are going to be these two girls in the locker room. You know how I said at times this movie feels like it was made by a teenager. Yeah, this is one of the more memorable scenes, but whatever. The killer will come in, and rather than just grabbing a few people, he is going to take out this whole club. And later on in the movie, the action sequences will be made better, but they were trying to make him seem strange and futuristic, so we do have a scene of bad, weird, choppy, artsy editing, but whatever. He kills everybody, but one of our point of view characters will be able to hide in a locker. Eventually, Eric Roberts, the police chief, will get there, and he'll look around, and what he notices combined with what we've seen, we get a bit of how this guy operates. He shot everybody through the eye or the ear, which is weird, but Eric Roberts will go, oh, I had a cousin that would try to aim for the eyes because he was a hunter and he didn't want to break up the pelts or something, so, nailing that guess right there on your first try. But we also see that they don't have any of his bullets, and earlier on we saw him taking the gun and going to each wound, and we find out he was literally sucking all the bullets back into the gun. And we also get a bit that, boy, is super cheesy, where he took everyone he wanted, not everybody, but everyone he wanted, and put them in a big laundry hamper and carted them out. Yeah, the alien stuff in here, I get where they're going for, I get what the metaphor is, but, boy, it gets kind of stupid, him wheeling all these people out. Anyway, Eric Roberts is going to go about solving the mystery, and we get pretty standard procedural stuff, him looking at the bodies and going to other crime scenes and thinking he's solved the mystery, but there's a twist. We do have some friends for him. He's friends with this mortician, and he'll make jokes back and forth. One of the dead people, that looks like your kind of girl. Again, nothing special, but there is a sense of life there. And then there's this rival detective, and they'll butt heads, and, he'll have some jokes. And the thing is, like the mortician and the rival cop character, they're good enough characters, but they don't have much to do in the movie, and I wish they were bigger characters that were able to, interact with him more and build more to the plot, but for the most part it really is just Eric Roberts running around. He has good enough chemistry with his friends. Wish we got more of them in the movie and wish they had more to do. But anyway, you know how I said this was kind of like Terminator? Well, there's not one weirdo running around. There's actually a second strange person that, because it translates the alien language, we know that his name is Warden, which a lot of you will be able to figure that out really, really quick. But Warden is running around on Earth as well, and eventually he is going to cross paths with the cops, and Eric Roberts will have to come face to face with the bigger picture, but not before we get a bunch of dumb CGI and heavy-handed metaphors. But whatever, we will get to chase sequences. A super long chase through this hospital that has many pointless stunts, but again, when the movie thinks it's being awesome is when it's at its best, and will eventually build to an okay finale. The absolute end bit is kind of stupid, but whatever. It's okay enough. Like I said, it does drag a little bit, and it does go through a few points. You're like, that was at the... No, we're still going. Okay. You know, so it's not the biggest and best thing ever, but I know there was a whole bunch of people that really enjoyed the Alien, Predator, Terminator sci-fi knockoffs, and to see them make one more a little bit later, I think some people will really like this, especially if you're into kind of cheesy action stuff. Again, though, that cheesy action is hampered down by the budget and by just how it methodically delivers the plot in a pretty standard way. Like I said, it's B-movie stuff. It really isn't great, but when it gets to a cheesy moment, it does almost save it. Not a super strong recommendation, but the right crowd might like it. And hey, when it's cheesy, right? Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. See you guys very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.